Happy New Year. January 2nd, the big story tonight, crushed and dragged for kilometers. The New Year horror on the capital's roads. We'll be focusing on that in a moment. Also, the Supreme Court clears the legal test for demonetization. Have the demonetization ghosts been buried once and for all? Among our special guests will be the former Finance Minister, P. Chidambaram. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. Home Minister Amit Shah seeks a report on the Delhi New Year horror as the politics speaks over it. FIR says the 5 accused tried to flee the spot after hitting a 20-year-old girl with their car. The victim was dragged for 12 kilometers. Aam Aadmi Party claims one of the accused is linked to the local BJP. Government's 2016 demonetization note ban, Notebandi passes the legal test. Supreme Court passes a 4-1 judgment in favor of note ban, says centre had the right to introduce demonetization, refuses to go into a question of whether the objectives were met. A day after 4 civilians were killed by terrorists in Jammu's Rajouri, 2 children die in IED blasts in the same area today. Protests by residents erupt. Bomb scare at the Punjab-Haryana border. Live shell found close to a helipad used by chief ministers of both states. Cops seal area. Search operation is underway. A 19-year-old girl is stabbed to death inside her college campus in Bengaluru by a fellow student. Man tries to commit suicide after the attack. Chilling murder is caught on camera. Actor Shizan's family counters alleged conversion claim by Tunisha's family, says the actor wore hijab as part of the show she was working on. Shizan's bail hearing on the 7th of January. 8 coaches of Bandra to Jodhpur express train derail in Rajasthan's Pali. At least 10 people seriously injured, other 11 coaches impacted. A week after actor turned politician Kamal Haasan joined Rahul Gandhi for his Bharat Jodo Yatra, both of them sit down for a candid conversation, target Prime Minister Modi over China, claim that they are following Mahatma's ideals. And Cristiano Ronaldo jets off to Saudi Arabia to join Al Nassr club after inking a $200 million deal. Tells his fans, see you soon. But the breaking news at this moment, Home Minister Amit Shah has directed the Delhi police to prepare a full report on the tragic girl accident case, the horror of New Year's Day. Immediately submit a report. Remember, a girl was dragged for more than 10 kilometers by a car after she had been struck by that car, which was being run by 5 people were driving in that car when this happened. A probe under Special Commissioner Shalini Singh has been set up. The Delhi police, remember, is also under fire as to why they were not there on the street when this gruesome incident happened on the 1st of January. So Amit Shah now seeking a probe under Special Commissioner Shalini Singh. Joining me now, Shreya Chatterjee, who tracks that story. Shreya, give us a sense of what at the moment does the police know about this case, the involvement of these 5 accused. Are there eyewitnesses who are confirming the nature of this crime?
Well, in fact, Rajdeep, it was only eyewitnesses who alerted the police about the entire incident. There are 2 eyewitnesses that we spoke with. One, Deepak, who has a milk shop, and the other person definitely is a Zomato delivery boy who alerted the police first. Now, what we also know that Delhi police has confirmed in their FIR that all the 5 men were aware of the fact that they hit the girl in that scooter, and then they subsequently dragged her for a 12-kilometer stretch. Now, why the reason Delhi police is receiving so much flack? Because this was on the New Year, that for 12-kilometer stretch, there was no police which was manning that space. Not a single PCR van intercepted that car, and definitely the Delhi police has a lot of answering to do. Why has there no action been taken so far on those officials who are on PCR duty? Because it's important to point out, since a year back, the entire PCR system has been decentralized. Now it is up to police stations independently to manage the respective PCR systems. Despite all these reformations, this incident highlights at the laxity that the Delhi police has now to answer about.
Shreya Chatterjee, we'll wait and see what that report says about the role of the police in particular on January 1st. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's give you a sense of what has happened. The ghastly death of a 20-year-old girl in the national capital has sent shockwaves. The woman was run over by a car, her scooter was hit and then dragged for kilometers before being left on the roadside. All the 5 accused who were inside the car have been sent to 3-day police remand. A CCTV clip from the spot of the crime raises many troubling questions. Tonight's report is on the New Year horror in the national capital.
A horrifying incident in Delhi, moments into the new year. A 20-year-old dying a painful and ghastly death. Anjali, who used to work part-time for weddings and other functions, was returning home on her scooter from one such event. According to cops, Anjali's scooter was hit by a car being driven by 5 New Year revelers. The car dragged Anjali for around 12 kilometers after hitting her. Anjali suffered grievous injuries and all her clothes got torn. She was found naked on the road with injuries which killed her on the spot. So far, the cops have said that no sexual assault took place and it was a killer accident. Cops are probing if the revelers were drunk.
जो 5 एक्यूज्ड हैं इनकी 3 दिन की पुलिस कस्टडी मिली है जो फर्दर इन्वेस्टिगेशन करेंगे। उस इन्वेस्टिगेशन के आधार पर जो भी नए तथ्य आएंगे और जो फॉरेंसिक टीम्स और लीगल टीम्स हैं उनके असिस्टेंस के बाद जो पुलिस अपना काम है पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन जल्दी से जल्दी कंप्लीट करेगी और उसके बाद कोर्ट में रिपोर्ट चार्जशीट सबमिट करेगी। सारे एविडेंस के आधार पर एविडेंस कलेक्ट करने के बाद हम जो अभियुक्त हैं उनको कड़ी से कड़ी सजा दिलवाएंगे।
मैम, सबसे पहले मैंने वो देखी 3:18 मैंने शॉप खोली थी। मैं दूध का काम करता हूँ। उस टाइम मैं अपनी दूध की गाड़ी का वेट कर रहा था।
अब दिखाइए कहाँ पे, अगर आप थोड़ा दिखा सकते हैं हमारे दर्शकों को।
मैं अपनी ये दुकान है यहाँ मैं खड़ा था और गाड़ी थी यहाँ से 100 मीटर पीछे।
ठीक है।
वहाँ से आवाज जा रही थी कि जैसे टायर फटने की आवाजें होती हैं उस प्रकार से मैं गाड़ी की तरफ लगा। वहाँ टायर फट रहा हुआ शायद। गाड़ी बिल्कुल सामने आने के बाद मेरे को पता चला इसके नीचे डेड बॉडी फंसी हुई है।
Serious questions are being asked of the Delhi police. India Today spoke to an eyewitness who confirmed he repeatedly called the cops and did not get a reply.
सिंगल रोड पर आवाज बहुत तेज आई गाड़ी की। मैंने पीछे मुड़कर देखा, जैसे मैंने पीछे मुड़कर देखा गाड़ी के पीछे की साइड वो लड़की का सर लटक रहा था। मैं देखकर चौंक गया। फिर बाद में मैंने ऑर्डर अपना पूरा करने के बाद मैं रोहिणी सेक्टर 24 की तरफ जा रहा था बेगमपुर थाने वाले रोड से। तो उस रोड पे 2 बाइक पे पुलिस वाले जा रहे थे। उनको मैंने रोका, उनसे बोला कि सर कंजावला रोड की तरफ ऐसे ऐसे गाड़ी है। उनको बकायदा मैंने कलर भी बताया था।
Fresh CCTV footage from the spot of the crime also raises more questions on exactly what happened. This 27-second video at about 1:50 a.m. shows a scooty and Baleno at the same spot. The scooty turns a corner and moments later the Baleno is seen stopping and flashing lights. This footage has raised questions of whether the collision happened at 1:50 a.m. and then the accused went about driving till 3:30 a.m. The Delhi police traced the car and arrested the 5 accused. Anjali, a resident of Aman Vihar, is survived by her mother, 4 sisters and 2 brothers aged 9 and 13 years.
रात को 9 बजे करीब कॉल आई थी, करी थी मैंने बेटा आ नहीं रही, नहीं मम्मी अभी काम नहीं खत्म हुआ। मैंने क्या अच्छा, फिर मैं दवाई लेके सो गई, मुझे नहीं पता फिर। और मैं बहुत ज्यादा बीमार हूँ, मेरी दोनों किडनी खराब है, मेरा गुजारा करने वाली दाल रोटी का वो ही थी।
Delhi Women's Panel has taken cognizance of the matter.
मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि न्यू ईयर्स ईव पर दिल्ली पुलिस की दिल्ली में क्या सुरक्षा व्यवस्था है कि लड़की को इतने किलोमीटर तक घसीट कर लेकर जाया जाता है और कोई चेक पोस्ट नहीं है। वो लोग दारू पी के गाड़ी चला कैसे रहे थे, उनके ऊपर कोई एक्शन नहीं हुआ।
Delhi losing a daughter to reckless and dangerous New Year revelry. With Amit Bharadwaj and Shriya Chatterjee from Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Why were police patrols missing on New Year's Eve? How do we make the capital's roads safe? Does Delhi need more police personnel? Some of the questions we'll raise. Joining me now, Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer, joins me. Dr. Bedi, what is your first response to what you've seen and heard in this case?
I think we need to readdress and relook at the dismantling of the PCR van's positioning. We do not know what is the policy decision which went into pros and cons, but we need to reposition PCR vans on the roads as it was. Instead of having dismantled, we could have strengthened the position. And on such occasions like New Year Eve, etc., where the lot of revelry will be on till late night, we could have strengthened vehicular presence on these stretches. Number one, I think this is one we need to readdress. So when the Honorable Home Minister is asking for it, we need to relook at, because the PCR vans actually have gone off the road and instead been allocated to area police stations. And they are not now, they're parked in police stations or doing police station work, whatever, rightly or wrongly. But I think we need to relocate it, because PCR vans had a response time. PCR van at 7 minutes drive. They were actually proud of the fact that today we have a 6-minute time and 7 minute, etc. So number one, I think we need to relook at this. Number two is, I think there's been a tremendous, we need to use greater technology, particularly cameras, not isolated cameras here and there of shopkeepers or here and there. I think we need to have a centralized technology system. So greater use of technology is a second answer. Third is coordination with civic agencies. I think there's a serious lack, because street lighting has a direct bearing on road safety and also the road repairs. So there is a really, to my mind, a lack of coordination between civic agencies and of the police, which has a direct bearing. As I said, safety has a bearing. Fourth is, there's of course a serious decline of fear of law. Serious decline. People, these youngsters are not afraid कि पुलिस वाले आके पकड़ लेंगे और बड़ी गिरफ्तारी हो जाएगी और सजा भी मिल जाएगी. I think there is an absence of fear of law. How do we bring this back? Fourth, last but not the least, amongst all the points I've said, is parenting. I think parenting young boys is a very serious deficiency now in our society, whether it's crimes against women, or it's drunken driving at night, or the kind of behavior. So these are 5 key things I think we need to rework on.
I just want to for a moment step back on 2 things. One is, clearly a part of this road was very badly lit. Number 2, it appeared that there were police patrols missing even though it was New Year's Day, and you mentioned that point. Do you believe that we are infrastructurally short of the required number of policemen on the beat, on the ground, and particularly as Delhi keeps expanding?
We are not regularly reviewing our deficiency in resources, whether it's manpower or technology or vehicular management. I think we're not reviewing it. We must do regular review, regular audit, depending on the crime situation of a particular police station or for a district, if you're looking at it as a unit. We need to regularly re-audit our state of resources in the respective areas.
Let me also ask you this. Do you believe, therefore, that where does the buck stop? Who is to be held accountable? 5 people have been arrested. Do you believe that someone within the police setup also needs to be held accountable?
Well, I think you are looking at police policies. You are crime prevention policies. PCR dismantling must have been a police headquarters policy. So I think, why did they go into this kind of instead of strengthening and linking it with motorcycles? One is a 4-wheeler, then you link it up with the motorcycle presence. Instead of strengthening the system, this has to be a police headquarters decision. Who took this decision? What are the pros and cons? What went into it? And whether it should come back or not, we need to rework. But we need to have motorcycle patrolling also, along with the PCR van, which we had. There was an extension of PCR van with the motorcycles. I don't know why they disappeared. But motorcycles need to be up. But as I said, police must report roads which are poorly lit. And the municipal corporation, whoever is in charge of the lighting, must respond. In fact, it should be a PCR call. कि ये लहार light नहीं है, because lighting has a direct bearing on safety, road safety, and also crimes against women.
One final question. You mentioned at the end that there was no fear of law among your 5 factors. there's a sense that whether it is those driving in the nights with alcohol, having taken alcohol or driving fast, they seem to be getting away because there is a sense that there isn't zero tolerance for this. Do you believe we need zero tolerance for speed driving or indeed alcohol driving on our streets? We need to find ways, particularly through technology, when no one gets away.
Yes, technology with very aggressive, regular preventive policing, where traffic police and local police must work together, because it has an overbearing. It's high-speed driving and negligent driving and criminal negligence. So traffic police and local police must also work together. They can divide beats amongst themselves and regularly be present and joint patrolling in not only waiting for New Year Eve, but on a regular basis. It's called group patrolling at night, where the motorcycles do group patrolling of particular areas. It's called the evening group patrolling or late night group patrolling, where the youngsters are afraid of doing these zigzags and drunken drivings and the fear of getting caught. So get preventive arrests, make preventive arrests, crimes against, I think we need to, preventive policing, preventive crime prevention, I think also is very highly deficient.
Right. Very strong points made there by you, Dr. Bedi. I appreciate your joining us and sharing with us your thoughts on what is really a gruesome start to 2023. Thank you so much for joining me here on the news today. Let's move from there to the other big story which came today from the Supreme Court, that today validated the 2016 demonetization decision of the Modi government, rejecting all pleas challenging the note ban. In a 4-1 majority judgment, the top court said the centre had the power to demonetize all series of bank notes, adding that the decision can't be seen to be unreasonable. There was a dissenting judgment though, which felt that the decision should have been taken by the RBI first and not by the centre. The BJP claims that they have been vindicated. The Congress says that the objectives of demonetization have still not been tested. Take a look at what happened in the court.
रात्रि को 12 बजे से वर्तमान में जारी 500 रुपए और 1000 रुपए के करेंसी नोट लीगल टेंडर नहीं रहेंगे.
6 years after the Narendra Modi government demonetized 501,000 notes in one stroke, the decision has got a stamp of approval from the highest court of the country.
Does not suffer from any flaws in the decision-making process.
A 5-judge bench of Justices Abdul Nazeer, B.R. Gavai, A.S. Bopanna, V. Ramasubramanian and BV Nagarathna on Monday delivered a 4:1 verdict upholding the validity of process followed in demonetization.
Despite the case of proportionality and as such cannot be struck down.
Justice B.R. Gavai, giving the majority judgment, said the decision-making process cannot be flawed only because process emanated from the government. The court said there was consultation between government and the RBI for 6 months. The verdict said there was reasonable nexus between measures and objective to bring demonetization. The court added that it's not relevant if the objective sought is achieved or not. The SC said the 52-day window given to exchange the notes cannot be called unreasonable.
The period provided for exchange of notes via the implement notification dated 8 November 2016 cannot be said to be unreasonable.
The Supreme Court has categorically held that it is not relevant as to whether or not the objective is achieved. But what is important is that there is a reasonable nexus between the objective and anything that is sought to be achieved.
By way of preface, I state the only woman on the bench was also the sole dissenting judge on the issue. Justice BV Nagarathna said if demonetization is initiated by the centre, then it can only be by means of an ordinance or parliamentary legislation. The judge said under the RBI Act, the recommendation has to be initiated by the RBI. But here, according to the judge, it was the government that initiated the move. Justice Nagarathna said it's beyond doubt that such a measure by the centre was well-intentioned.
Not under section 26(2) of the Act. It is to be by way of a legislation. And if legislation is not the way, in the sense there is need for secrecy, then it is ordinance.
with 4 out of 5 judges deciding in favor of the demonetization policy, Centre's 2016 decision, which has been one of the most controversial economic decisions taken in this country, now stands upheld. With camera person Ashwini from New Delhi, this is Srishti Ojha, India Today.
Let's go straight across to my first guest, P. Chidambaram, senior Congress MP, former finance minister, who also appeared in this case on behalf of one of the petitioners. Mr. Chidambaram, would you now concede that the majority Supreme Court verdict today effectively nullifies, puts to rest the basic argument made by critics, including yourself, that the demonetization process followed by the Narendra Modi government was badly flawed? Would you agree that that argument has been set at rest now by the court? It was legal.
No, I don't agree with that. Let me make it clear at the outset that I'm not in your show as an advocate who appeared in the case. I'm here as a member of parliament representing the Congress party. Now, what was our argument? Our argument was, politically as well as among the advocates in court, our argument was the objectives that was set out before the country for demonetization were never achieved. And the Supreme Court has absolutely steered clear of that question. They say we are not going to judge the decision by whether it has achieved objectives or not. If the government wants to feel vindicated, it's welcome to do so. But there is no imprimatur of the Supreme Court that the objectives of demonetization as set out on November 8, 2016 were actually achieved.
But Mr. Chidambaram, the legal question raised in the Supreme Court was simply this, whether the government had followed due process, and the court by a majority judgment has said yes, it was followed. So therefore, the decision taken to demonetize currency was as per law, not violative of that. Do you agree with that? That is the basic fallout of the judgment?
I agree. Once the majority has declared the law, you and I and everyone else is bound by the law. That is the law. That is the law today after the majority judgment. But it doesn't still the questions, doesn't still the criticism, because there is a minority judgment which points out that there is a different interpretation to section 26 subsection 2. And after going through the 4 documents placed before the court in a sealed cover, the minority judgment says this decision emanated from the central government and not from the RBI. Now, I agree, that is a minority judgment. But remember what a famous Chief Justice of the United States said many years ago, and it's been repeated 1,000 times over. A dissent is an appeal to the brooding spirit of the law, to the intelligence of a future day. I can give you any number of examples where what is a dissenting statement of law today has 10, 20 years later become the accepted view.
But Mr. Chidambaram, what the court seems to be also saying is reasserting the primacy of the executive to take such economic decisions, that they cannot be supervised by a court of law or indeed even done post facto in parliament, because otherwise the secrecy of demonetization would have ended. Do you therefore agree that at the end of the day, y'all were misplaced to challenge that basic decision of the executive to demonetize currency? That was well within the powers of the government.
I acknowledge, I concede that the majority judgment says the plenary powers of Parliament to do demonetization, like it did twice before, is the same as the executive government's power under section 26, subsection 2. Effectively, the majority has said what Parliament can do by a plenary law can also be done under section 26, subsection 2. Now, I respectfully and beg to take a different view, but I concede that that point has been rejected by the majority of the Supreme Court. It has been upheld by the minority judgment.
So does effectively, Mr. Chidambaram, this majority judgment put an end to all the controversy that have swirled around demonetization 6 years later? Do you believe even politically now, demonetization is no longer an issue on the table?
No, it will be an issue. Remember, ADM Jabalpur was an issue until ADM Jabalpur was overruled by a later Supreme Court. The judgment on homosexuality was an issue until it was overruled. The judgment that only a woman can be accused of adultery and a man cannot be was overruled. There were any number of judgments have been reversed after 10, 20, 30 years. A.K. Gopalan was reversed after 30, 40 years. I'm not saying this majority judgment will be reversed. I'm only saying that the proposition that the executive government's power under Section 26(2) is equal or more or less the same as Parliament's power to pass a plenary legislation on demonetization, I hope will be reconsidered at some future date. Not maybe in a demonetization case, but in another case.
But Mr. Chidambaram, you said at the outset of this interview that the objectives of demonetization, whether they were met or not, the court has stayed away from that contentious issue. Now, do you believe that in a way this argument still needs to be debated, or are you of the view that the government has just changed the goalposts? Let's be very clear. The argument whether objectives have been met or not is not a legal argument. Do you believe there's still a need for a political debate on it now?
Of course, not at all. What did the government say? Fake currency will be identified and weeded out of the system. Every one of the currency notes was issued. So fake currency was also exchanged by the banks. 99.3% of the currency has returned to the bank. Secondly, they said this will eliminate black money. Every other day, you find that the Income Tax Department, the CBI, ED, seizing unaccounted money, which is black money. They said we will move towards a cashless economy. Then they changed the goalpost to say less cash economy. What is the result? On the day of demonetization, the cash in circulation was about 17 lakh crore. Today it is double, 33 lakh crore, 32, 33 lakh crore. Therefore, which objective has been achieved? No objective has been achieved. They said we will stop financing of terrorism. But every other day, even this morning's paper says 3 terrorists were killed, 3 terrorists killed 3 citizens. So financing of terrorism has not stopped. So which objective has been
digitization? Digitization.
Besides, digitization and demonetization has no connection at all. Even without demonetization, digitization would have happened. It would have happened at the same pace.
Sir, the government has also said, or government supporters say, since 2016, several elections have been held. In most of them, the BJP has emerged triumphant, including the 2019 general elections. It got a majority. In a sense, the people of the country have already vindicated the decision of demonetization, not just the courts.
Now, was demonetization the only or the central issue in an election? I thought they had other issues before the people. They had Ram Mandir. They had Article 370. They had the promise of putting an end to so-called love jihad. Therefore, demonetization was not the central issue in any election. Anyway, which issue was central to which voter, nobody knows. You don't know, I don't know. Therefore, let's not justify demonetization by the electoral result. Will you then say that the Himachal Pradesh people have rejected demonetization while the Gujarat people have upheld demonetization? I mean, these are meaningless arguments. Elections are fought on multiple issues. And I don't believe that the last election was fought on the main issue or the principal issue or the central issue of demonetization.
One final question. Do you, as a former finance minister, in conclusion, believe that the RBI's autonomy was undermined by demonetization? Today, the court has said the RBI was consulted over 6 months. That the decision was taken in consultation. Do you believe the role of the RBI still needs to be looked at, even post this verdict?
It is. It is. Remember, the RBI governor who agreed to demonetization resigned within a few months thereafter when he was asked to take another unpalatable decision, namely to declare a huge dividend by the RBI, contrary to all norms and all past practices. Therefore, RBI, well, we'll have to wait until Mr. Urjit Patel writes his memoirs. He's not yet written a memoir. The only book he has written does not talk about demonetization at all. Therefore, I think the judgment on that is reserved. But the RBI was virtually railroaded into agree to a decision has to wait. The majority, bless them, they have steered clear of all that. They said we are not going to examine whether the objectives were achieved. We are not going to examine the wisdom of the decision. That is not our job. That is the job of the parliament and the government. My real worry is that the majority judgment has said in more or less the following terms, that the plenary power of parliament to pass legislation on demonetization is equal to the executive government's power under section 26(2). Now that, I think, has very serious implications, not only for the issue of demonetization, but any other power under any other law. Can we say that the plenary power of parliament is equal to the executive government's power under an act, or the other way around? Can we say that the executive government's power under a section of an act is equal to the plenary power of parliament? I think that debate will start, that debate will continue. And of course, I concede that as of today, as far as the Reserve Bank of India Act is concerned, and as far as demonetization is concerned, that power has been held by a majority to be equal. And we as citizens are bound by the declaration of law by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
I don't quarrel with that proposition at all. We are bound by that law. But I would raise the larger question. Can the executive government's power under a section of an act be ever equal or nearly equal to Parliament's power to pass plenary legislation? I think the debate will start on that issue.
Let's leave it there, Mr. Chidambaram. You've raised plenty of issues that are food for thought, but clearly you are conceding that the Supreme Court, in a sense, has reaffirmed the government's, the executive's right to demonetize currency. P. Chidambaram, thanks very much for joining me. Let's then raise that question about the issues. Demonetization ghosts, are they buried once and for all? Were the objectives of demonetization met? Should that be debated? Should the government release a white paper on demonetization's objectives? Joining me now, Aparajita Sarangi is BJP MP and Sanjay Hegde is Senior Advocate, Supreme Court. Appreciate both of you joining us. Aparajita Sarangi, you might have heard what Mr. Chidambaram said. He is trying to separate the legal issues from the political objectives, saying focus on the political objectives which have not been discussed by the court. Yes, he is conceding that legally the government had the right to demonetize currency, but demonetization failed in its objectives. Your response?
A very good evening.
Good evening.
Today is a big day. The Supreme Court has upheld the decision of the government, which was communicated to the country on 8th November 2016 regarding demonetizing 500 rupees and 1000 rupees currency notes. And I think a lot of debate has gone around this particular thing, and it had been made into a weapon against Bharatiya Janata Party and the central government in all the elections by the opposition parties. But I think everything has failed. 58 petitions, as we know, have been set aside. Now here, in fact, what they are saying is they are focusing on the process of decision regarding demonetization. They are saying that the process has been upheld. The process has been approved by the Supreme Court, but they are not, I think, willing to accept the kind of achievements that demonetization process has brought for the country. Now, of course, I'm very happy to actually
tell me what's the one big outcome. In your view, what is that one big outcome out of demonetization that necessitated such an urgent step that you believe vindicates the government? The legal process apart, the political objectives.
See, why did demonetization come? Why was it brought about? It was part of a larger strategy to combat the menace of fake money, terror financing, black money, and tax evasion. And on all these counts, the government has succeeded. I'll give you a couple of examples. In fact, I have a list of all those achievements. But the most important thing is it has actually brought down the currency in circulation in payment systems. Now, here I would definitely like to mention that, in fact, many people are saying that, the currency, the amount of currency has not been brought down. No, it's not true. The rise in currency in circulation in absolute numbers, of course, has gone up more than 70%. It's in the system, I agree. But here we are not talking of currency in circulation in absolute numbers. We are talking of currency in circulation in payment systems. And I give you the data. The currency in circulation in payment system has declined from 88% in financial year 15-16 to 20% in financial year 21-22, and it is estimated that it will further come down to 11.15% by the end of this financial year. This is one part. Number two, I think all of us have heard that about 3.8 lakh companies and 4.5 lakh directors related to shell companies, shell entities were struck off under Section 248(1)(c) of the Companies Act. So I think this is a major achievement. And of course, third and very important is, we talk of digital transactions. In financial year 21-22, rupees 84 lakh crore worth digital transactions, or let me say like this, rupees 84 lakh crore worth transactions on United Payment Interface took place in the country, which is a record achievement. So I think on all fronts, demonetization has been able to kind of bring about systemic and behavioral changes in the system.
You're linking digitization, the growth in digitization to demonetization. Sanjay Hegde, do you want to respond? Because the court stayed away from political outcomes or looking at objectives. They focused on the legal process. Today, Aparajita Sarangi and indeed the BJP time and again says, look, digitization, they believe, got a big boost because of demonetization. Therefore, the political objectives are contentious. Today, the legal debate has been settled. You're on mute. Sanjay, you're on mute. Yes.
The legal debate was settled a long time ago, much before demonetization. It was settled in the bearer bonds case, where also the Supreme Court said that in matters of economic policy, the Supreme Court would not intervene. It would only look at the process through which a decision was taken. As far as the process is concerned, 4:1, they have upheld the process. I did hear the BJP spokesperson give a lot of things that have happened since demonetization. But then correlation is not causation. You see, all those things could have equally well happened without demonetization. The digital economy has expanded, yes, but it took off during COVID. There are so many other things, but I do not want to get into a political debate. I just want to tell your viewers that the fact that the Supreme Court has upheld the process does not mean that the Supreme Court has approved of the wisdom of the decision. The wisdom of the decision is left to the executive. It is left to the people who elect the executive.
They have not questioned
whether that has been.
But including the dissenting judgment, Sanjay Hegde, of Justice Nagarathna, they have not questioned the intentions of the government. They've all said the intentions were honorable. What they have questioned in Justice Nagarathna's case, she believes that it was the RBI which should have initiated it, not the government, and made the RBI effectively a rubber stamp. That's where the distinction comes. I want to ask you, in your view, which is the stronger judgment, the dissenting one or the majority one?
Well, there is also that part of the dissent where Justice Nagarathna held that recourse to Parliament was necessary and it could not be part of the executive powers. That was the point that Mr. Chidambaram was also making. That, look, in a constitutional scheme of governance, ministers act under the Constitution and under the various laws that Parliament passes. So their powers are derived from those laws.
Right.
To say that Parliament's power to make laws is the same as the minister's powers to implement those laws that there is a fallacy out there, which maybe some other judgment might have to take a relook at.
Can I therefore look at Aparajita Sarangi, a critical question, which is the 24-hour notice, which in a way was seen by many people, the manner in which the RBI effectively on November 7th was informed by the government that they were going ahead with it, and on the 8th of November the government goes ahead with it. While 52 days were given to people to change their currency, the fact is the RBI was seen by many as a rubber stamp. Is that something that should, is this executive power that is there? The court is upholding executive power, but could it have been done better? Could it have been done better in a manner that it caused less of disruption to an economy?
See, unfortunately, it has become a fashion to question every action and intention of Prime Minister Modi government. Demonetization was introduced with the best of intentions, and we are reaping the dividends. Now, as far as RBI is concerned, we are well aware of the fact that RBI was asked to give its opinion. It is far from the truth when we say that RBI was actually not informed, RBI was not consulted, they did not know what was happening. This is absolutely ridiculous.
But Raghuram Rajan, ma'am, I'm sorry to intervene. Raghuram Rajan, former RBI governor, went on record to say that he had suggested that the government review this decision. So it appears that the government in that sense seemed to overlook all the objections.
I must tell you with all conviction at my command that the opinion of the Reserve Bank of India had been taken, and it was a positive opinion. I must say this. And as far as taking the whole thing to the parliament is concerned, see, there can be executive orders, there can be executive decisions. So I think when demonetization was brought in, I think there was a good executive decision taken in the interest of the nation. And I must tell you that in these 6 years after demonetization, we can see greater transparency. There is an increase. Who can say there is no increase? There is an increase in tax compliances, collection and filings. And I must say the paper-based instruments such as check, etc., has declined from 46% in financial year 2015-16 to 12.7% in financial year 21-22. Okay. See, we have facts and figures. This was brought in with the best of intentions. And I think there has been some kind of systemic and behavioral changes in the economy. It was aimed at kind of enhancing the digitization and formalization in the economy. And this has happened. I think, let us not, I think they have to bury the hatchet. Now it's high time that, they think positively about the whole thing.
Okay, very quick word, final word from you, Sanjay Hegde. Is there a cautionary note at all that the government should look at?
Well, there are several cautionary notes. If there are no cautionary notes, there is nothing which prevents this government from demonetizing again. Do you think that any government of India in our foreseeable future is likely to indulge in that kind of demonetization again? I certainly think not.
Okay.
That itself should tell you that notwithstanding all this chest thumping, this is a decision which no rational government will ever repeat.
Let me leave it there. 2 points of view. Aparajita Sarangi, Sanjay Hegde, appreciate you joining us on our talking point tonight. Let's turn from there to our ground report today, which comes from Rajouri, because a day after Hindu families were targeted and killed in Rajouri in Jammu, an IED blast took place just meters away from the same attack spot. 2 children are dead in the latest terrorist targeted attacks. There is anger and outrage in Jammu, several Hindu groups staging protests demanding more security. Take a look.
Bloodshed in Jammu and Kashmir in the new year. Twin terror attacks in Rajouri in less than 24 hours. A day after the dastardly terror attack that claimed 4 lives in Upper Dangri village. Explosions rocked the same area on Monday. At least 2 children are dead and 5 injured in the explosions.
It appears that the ID was planned in a way that the senior officers would visit the site around the time in the morning. And then as per the timing, it will go off and it will cause damage, loss to the security forces and the police officers on the spot. Unfortunately, police did their checks and all during the night but could not find it.
On Sunday, 2 terrorists barged into 3 houses belonging to people of the Hindu community and opened fire. Sources tell India Today that terrorists first checked the identity cards of the victims. Once their identity was verified using the Aadhaar card, the men were killed. The terrorists were dressed in khaki.
फायरिंग की कुछ आवाज़ आई, हम आगे आए तो हमें जैसे ही आके हम मतलब किसी घर में यहाँ पे नीचे में एक्चुअली नॉन नहीं हो इतना उनके घर के आगे आए तो सर मतलब उनको उठाने की हालत में नहीं थे। ये देखो सर हालत बिल्कुल उनके सर बिल्कुल टोटली मतलब यहाँ से कुछ था ही नहीं। इसी घर में अटैक हुआ है? नहीं सर, हाँ बिल्कुल इसी घर में सर, बिल्कुल मतलब वो टोटली मतलब ऑन द स्पॉट डेड डिक्लेयर्ड थे वो।
The terror attacks spread panic across the region. Several organizations, including traders' bodies, called for a general strike in Rajouri on Monday. Kashmiri Hindus hit the streets calling for an end to the targeted killings.
देखिए, सबसे पहले हमारी मांग है कि डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन जितनी है पूरी रिशफल होनी चाहिए। ये फेलियर है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का। पूरी तरीके से हम जो है यहाँ असुरक्षित महसूस कर रहे हैं इस समय।
The Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha condemned the cowardly attacks on Hindus and promised action against the terrorists. The Sunday terror strike was the first such attack in the past several years in the otherwise peaceful Jammu region and coincided with the first day of 2023. With Kamaljit Kaur Sandhu and Sunilji Bhatt in Rajouri, Bureau Report, India Today.
To another of our top stories, 3 people were killed this weekend in yet another stampede that broke out in a rally of the Telugu Desam in Andhra Pradesh's Guntur, the second stampede in the past week. While Chief Minister Y.S. Jagannath Reddy and TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu have expressed their grief, announced ex gratia payments for the bereaved families, a political war of words has also erupted. Take a look.
Another Telugu Desam rally in Andhra Pradesh. Another stampede. More loss of lives. Chandrababu Naidu's rally in Guntur on Sunday was to end with the Sankranti gift program to give kits to women participants. But a stampede ensued, leaving 3 people dead and around 15 badly injured.
About 15 members, among 15 members, 10 members are stable and they are a little bit stable. We are treating them, but they left against medical advice, 8 members. 2 members with request, they went to the home. So remaining 5 members, we admitted them.
Local residents claim there was a large turnout of women for the TDP rally as party leaders had been promoting the event for the past 10 days. TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu has announced 5 lakh rupees each as financial assistance to the families of the victims. Chief Minister Y.S. Jagannath Reddy too expressed shock over the incident. The Andhra government is giving 2 lakh rupees as relief to the bereaved families. The CM instructed officials to provide quality medical care to all the injured. A political slugfest has erupted over the incident in the state, with the 2 parties blaming each other for the stampede.
Ex-Chief Minister and the present opposition leader is coming as the chief guest there, a person who is having Z category security. So obviously it's the responsibility of the government and the police to take care of the security arrangements there. I don't know why they are not sending police. It's a big question mark. We should ask them. The question should be posed to the YSRCP government. Why aren't police been stationed there.
This is the second such stampede at a TDP rally in the past 1 week. At least 8 people were killed in the stampede at Naidu's roadshow in Nellore on Wednesday.
The TDP has alleged YSRCP of inadequate police officials deployed and improper arrangements made by the state government during the TDP program in the state. With camera person Damodar, Abdul Bashir, Hyderabad.
Let's take a break at this point. On the other side, our good news today story. It comes from Madhya Pradesh. We'll tell you more. You're watching the news today. News without the noise. Welcome back. Let's turn to tonight's Get Real India story, which comes from Haldwani's Bambulpura area, where 4,000 people living in unauthorized colonies now face the risk of losing their homes. As per a Nainital High Court order dated December 20th, all illegal encroachment on railway land will be demolished, leaving many homeless. Many of the homeless are now protesting. Where does the truth lie? It's our Get Real India story.
Bambulpura in Haldwani is home to over 4,000 people living in unauthorized colonies. The Nainital High Court has ordered demolition of the illegal colonies on railway land. The administration plans to implement the order.
माननीय उच्च न्यायालय के द्वारा एक आदेश दिया गया है और उस आदेश का अनुपालन कितने प्रभावी तरीके से और अच्छी प्रकार से हो, उसके लिए रेलवे के साथ एक समन्वय बैठक थी और उसमें निरीक्षण भी किया गया है पॉइंट्स का और पूरे स्थल को देखा भी गया है.
Angry residents of the area are out on the streets protesting against the clearance of encroachments. Many of them say that their families have been living in the area for generations now.
हमारे घर तोड़े जा रहे हैं और हमारा स्कूल भी तोड़ा जा रहा है. हम कहाँ जाएंगे? हम छोटे छोटे बच्चे हैं. हमारा घर टूट जाएगा तो हम कहाँ रहेंगे?
The residents allege they are being subjected to mental harassment by the police and administration.
ये जो उखाड़ने के लिए बस्ती बार बार हमारे ऊपर इन लोग गरीब आदमी के ऊपर तलवार टांग देते हैं. वो हर 6 महीने में तलवार टांगते हैं. ये बहुत गलत बात है. केंद्र की भी, प्रशासन की भी, सबकी बहुत बुरा हाल है यहाँ के लोगों का. ये अपने बच्चों को लेके कहाँ जाएंगे, कैसे बसेंगे, कैसे क्या करेंगे?
The protesters are demanding the government provide them housing if they are evicted. The local administration too has many questions to answer. The most important one being, why were these illegal colonies allowed to come up in the first place? With Rahul Singh Dharamwal from Haldwani, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn now to our good news today story, which comes from Madhya Pradesh. A young B.Tech graduate in Malwa left his job to start a dairy farm. Anil Patidar now runs a thriving business. How did he do it? It's our good news today story.
A B.Tech graduate in Madhya Pradesh is scripting a success story in dairy farming. Anil Patidar from Modi village, located 45 kilometers away from Agar Malwa district headquarters, chose to stay close to his roots and started his dairy in 2018.
मैंने सन 2014 में बीटेक किया है आरजीपी यूनिवर्सिटी भोपाल से और आज मेरे पास मैंने सोचा पहले कि जॉब में तो खुद का बिजनेस रहेगा नहीं, दूसरों के अंडर में काम करना पड़ेगा। मैंने डेयरी फार्म स्टार्ट किया, 8 गायों से मैंने शुरुआत की और आज मेरे पास 100 से 105 गायें हैं।
From cutting fodder to milking cows, Patidar relies on machines to manage his business. The venture that started with 4 cows now has more than 100. The business, he claims, is making big profit.
मेरे पास 600 से 700 लीटर दूध पर डे का रहता है।
कितना होता है आमदनी क्या?
अब इसमें सर 60-40 का रेशियो रहता है। मान लो जैसे कि 600 लीटर दूध है, 40 रुपए लीटर के हिसाब से जोड़ा अपन ने, तो 24,000 का दूध हुआ। तो इसमें 60% मेरी इनकम है और 40% मेरा। हाँ।
Patidar claims one of the reasons to start his own dairy was to supply unadulterated milk. He claims many in the region are following his footsteps. Bureau Report, India Today.
Interesting story. Let's leave you though with our image tonight, which is from the world of cricket, where a brilliant catch in the Big Bash League in Australia has gone viral, left many cricket fans confused. Michael Neser took the catch along the boundary. Each time he crossed the boundary line, but every time he touched the ball, he was in the air. Take a look, his feet are not on the ground. And as a result, he was able to complete the catch. Now the ICC has ruled that as long as the fielder is outside the boundary and is not touching the ground when he touches the ball, it's a valid catch. Take a look again. The ball is in the air, and at that moment he's outside the ground. Then he keeps intelligently his feet off the ground and he completes the catch. You can try that at home. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Right, that's good. Releases before he. Well, this is going to be the magic bullet theory if he somehow. Oh, hang on.
He did start out of the field of play though.
Co-powered by SABIC, chemistry that matters. Co-powered by ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. Co-powered by Samsonite, tested like Samsonite. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ. Raymond Techno, unrestrict yourself. Tata Punch, vibes with you.
News just coming in of ultimate insult to Pakistan. Taliban has tweeted out a picture of 1971 India-Pakistan war and Pakistan surrender at Dhaka. Look at that picture on your television screen. That picture has just been put up by Taliban in a tweet to Pakistan. Taliban has warned Pakistan of a repeat of 1971-like defeat. Pakistan was split into two by India in 1971. Remember 16th of December 1971 and the birth of Bangladesh? Taliban has warned Pakistan not to attack Afghanistan. Taliban has said Afghanistan is a graveyard of empires. Taliban says Pakistan should not even think of attacking Afghanistan. So what's the context? This is a huge embarrassment for Pakistan. Pakistan's Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah, he talked about attacking Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan hideouts in Afghanistan. Why? Because there's been a huge spike in TTP attacks on Pakistan Army and security